Just figured I'd make a video and talk a little bit around some of the things that are coming and a little bit around some of the way we thought about how to build a good system. Now, the testnet's out. People are actually playing around with it, and people are building all kinds of things. And as a consequence, some of the things that are being built in a very alpha way, to say the least. And so people are coming up with questions about access control. They're coming up with questions about concurrency. They're coming up with questions about throughput and capabilities of the system. The problem is that it's like somebody who just takes their first computer science class and they learn about bubble sort and they say, God, why is my computer so slow? Well, because you're using bubble sort. It turns out that there's new, better algorithms that can be implemented, new, better methodologies and techniques that can be implemented. And what we've been trying to do as an ecosystem is balance speed of delivery to market with time for the development of tooling, pedagogy, and community-driven application. So if we had all the time in the world, what would happen is you would have a very long testnet period, about a year. And you'd have lots of people come, tons of challenge problems, and there'd be this grand evolution in education of the underlying infrastructure. Now, we're in a competitive environment. There's tons of other protocols. A lot of people are moving very quickly. It doesn't make sense to do a long burnout. So you can shorten that if you believe there are no safety concerns. And what you can do is create something on the mainnet where it's clear that there's a certain class of problems that are very easy to solve, and you now add lots of value to the system. And what will happen is you have all these people that are just so dishonest and just toxic assholes who say, well, what Charles is saying is Cardano won't be useful for 6 to 12 months. No, I didn't say that at all. At this juncture right here, you guys can do pretty much anything a Turing complete smart contract can do. We're going to have stablecoins materialize. We're going to have interoperability materializing. You can do all kinds of locking mechanisms for multi-sig. You could start connecting centralized off-chain infrastructure. In fact, DC Spark is planning on doing that. You can run complex financial contracts, and we're actually a pretty efficient system. And all of our benchmarking shows about 2 orders of magnitude cheaper than Ethereum right now. And this month, those things will be solidified. And absolutely, there's going to be some creative decisions that have to be made with oracles and dexes, and partners have already started making some of those creative decisions, and those things will work their way into production this year and next year. And are they super efficient? Of course not. Why? Because it's a new model. No one has ever done extended UTXO before and Plutus before outside of Ergo. And at the scale we're doing it, no one's ever done that before. Point is that you want to establish a stable root of trust. That's what we've done here, and have enough programmability at the settlement layer where you can get people connected to the domains that they want to be, and also move large amounts of value efficiently. You can represent and move value efficiently. Okay? That's why we created Marlowe. You see, Cardano is going to be, in our view, a dominant platform for lending, for insurance, for bond issuance, for all kinds of financial products. Now, when you talk about rich interactive experiences involving millions of concurrent users, blockchains are not built for that. Ethereum isn't built for that. Cardano is not built for that. That's not the point of these types of systems. You need bespoke domains for those types of systems. And those bespoke domains all have their trade-offs and their assumptions about how they run. If you're really clever about your design and your model, then what you can do is you can use the fact that you've created a very strong root of trust to instantiate those bespoke domains with different economics and different ideas, and then suddenly you can utilize them. And a lot of great things being constructed. The point of Cardano is to be around in 50 years or 100 years. We got the model of innovation right, and we got the model of collaboration right. That is more important than anything else. All the other stuff, it's inevitable. It'll happen. Might take months, might take weeks, might take years, but it'll happen. And if you don't like the model, well, eventually you can add your own. And what we've done is, I think, the most balanced hybridization between the innovations of Bitcoin and the innovations of Ethereum, with an eye on how do we achieve the 3rd generation? How do we achieve scale, governance, and interoperability? And I'm pretty happy about that model. And there's 500 people in my company, well over, I think, 200 at this point, are working full-time on nothing but Cardano. And there's 12 other development companies that are working on infrastructure in Cardano. Everything from ledger support to hardcore stuff on the network stack. And then there's a whole constellation of people now building dApps and so forth. And there's Catalyst with $1 billion available and all kinds of people voting. That's not going away. That's only going to add and add and add. The model that we've developed has the ability to absorb those business and technical requirements and upgrade and scale up the system. Now, every now and then there are checkpoints. The Cardano 360 is a checkpoint. The conference on the 25th is a check. And as that model matures and materializes and gets really strong, next year the foundation can do tons of hackathons to encourage more developers, and that'll happen. In addition, we're seeing no indication of slowdown on Catalyst and projects and programs and people. There's a lot of push there. One thing I'll never succumb to is cynicism. When you have a $100 billion ecosystem, you have to be very careful, delicate about how quickly innovation is pushed and how quickly you add features and functionality, or else you run into a lot of problems. What we've been able to balance is that reality with the absolute need to keep moving forward aggressive, which is why consistently we've been #1 in GitHub commits. And I know, read it again and again and again. Oh, but those mean nothing. Those mean nothing. Those can be game. Guys, we're not pushing trivial commits where we're like, oh, well, we changed the variable name for the string. This is real commits. This is real code. Anytime someone says that, you ask them to go through the commits and identify which ones are superfluous. It's an indication of a massive collective engineering effort at a scale this space hasn't seen before. We're moving, frankly, faster than most people. Ethereum is still trying to figure out how to build that proof of stake root of trust. Not only are we there, ours is secured in the tens of, and it has a beautiful upgrade path, and we clearly understand where Ouroboros needs to go, and we also understand how to build secondary chains that can connect on. They're still working on that. The programming model that we have at times can be a bit inflexible and restrictive, but it was built specifically for interoperability and for the movement of vast amounts of value, and for safety, verification, resource determinism, inclusive accountability, and the requirement of only local state, not global. Okay. So given that that was the design space for version 1, it's unreasonable to go ahead and say, well, it doesn't do X, or, well, it's hard to do X right now. That'll come. And it's a natural organic progression of these things. And you enjoy all the things that we've already achieved and accomplished. If you can't get that, maybe this isn't the ecosystem for you. Go somewhere else. If you think everybody else has already solved these problems, you're being lied to. These are some of the hardest engineering problems in the world. They're not going to be solved for decades because there's only partial solutions. And every iteration is another example of a slightly wider solution that we have. Okay? That's where we live as an ecosystem in a space.